Commission meeting dated the 10th of Tuesday, the 10th of April, 2018. Present today are Commissioner Kerry Gibson to my right, Commissioner James Ebert to my left, and I'm Jim Harvey. Our invocation today will be given by Mr. Rodney Egan, and then our Pledge of Allegiance will be by Michelle Elliott, and our thought for the day will be by Commissioner Ebert.
Our most kind and righteous Father who art in heaven, we assemble this day at the County Commission to do the work of this county. Father, we're so grateful unto Thee for the fine gentlemen that serve as county commissioners in this great county. We're grateful for the opportunity we have of worshiping the way we want, for the opportunity we have of electing officers in a fair manner. Father, we're grateful for the beautiful building that we have to assemble in this day and for our freedom of speech. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please stand and follow me in the allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do it in yours, I don't care.
So 2 quick thoughts. The first is by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I was trying to get Commissioner Harvey, Chair Harvey, to read this because he does a great impersonation. I do not, and so I will just read it. It quotes, "Help others and give something back. I guarantee you will discover that while public service improves the lives and the world around you, its greatest reward is the enrichment and new meaning it will bring to your life." And really that's what public service is about. But one of the things that's really near and dear to my heart is the military, and some of you may or may not know that this is the month that we celebrate military children. And we recognize those in the military all the time. We recognize their amazing spouses who, at a minute's notice, will pack up and move across the country when their spouses are deployed. They stay home, they take care of everything. But sometimes we forget about the children in many of these families. So I'd just like to read this really quickly. The official flower of the military child is the dandelion. Why? The plant puts down roots almost anywhere, and it's almost impossible to destroy. It's an unpretentious plant, yet good-looking. It's a survivor in a broad range of climates. Military children bloom everywhere the wind carries them. They are hardy and upright. Their roots are strong, cultivated deeply in the culture of the military. Planted swiftly and surely, they're ready to fly in the breeze that takes them to new adventures, new lands, and new friends. Experts say that military children are well-rounded, culturally aware, tolerant, and extremely resilient. Military children have learned from an early age that home is where their hearts are, that a good friend can be found in every corner of the world and in every color, and that education doesn't only come from school. They live history. They learn to survive. They learn that to survive means to adapt, that the door that closes one chapter of their life opens up to new and exciting adventures, full of new friends and new experiences. My mother was a military child, and I hear the stories everywhere from living in Hawaii to Connecticut to Denver and all across this land. Amazing experience. It taught her to be strong, resilient, and independent. And so many times again, we don't recognize the sacrifice of our military families, especially the children, and it's good to recognize them, especially on this month that is meant to celebrate military children. Thank you.
Thank you. That's interesting. Yes.
Quick, I appreciate that, Commissioner. That was a very thoughtful, heartfelt thank you, and I echo that. I also heard today, as did Commissioner Harvey in an earlier meeting, that this week is 911 Dispatchers Week. And I'm not sure who makes that designation, but I think if nothing else, it's a good opportunity for us to recognize their service and sacrifice for us. again, maybe something that we don't recognize all the time as a real for the value that it is in our lives, and over the last few years of being able to work with those dispatchers, just wanted to offer my thanks to them as well.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item E. Our agenda today, it's a presentation from the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources of a payment in lieu of taxes, or PILT, from Justin Dolling, the Northern Regional Supervisor. Welcome, thank you. I remember you from days gone by or years in the past. You come every year. We really appreciate you adding 3 zeros to the back of these checks that have been coming in too. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Those are kind words, and I just want to say good morning to the commission. My name is Justin Doling, and I'm with the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources, and I'm here to present our payment in lieu of taxes. The Division of Wildlife owns approximately 18,500 acres here in the county. Consists of our Middle Fork WMA, also our Ogden Bay are the 2 larger ones. It also includes the 1,800 acres roughly that we added to our Middle Fork last year. So your check will go up this year. So this year we'd like to present you with a check for $9,124.35.
I'm glad you got the cents in there. I was doing the math on that one to make sure those cents were in there.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. And you have any questions concerning wildlife? Or
I know we'll gladly accept it, and we appreciate any and all monies that you bring to us from that organization. Commissioners, any comments?
questions?
Just to add my thanks, Justin, for the partnership over the years and the work that you do to promote the good cause that you work with every day, and I just want to tell you thank you.
Oh, thank you. And same to you, Commissioner.
Appreciate that.
Okay, you guys have a good morning.
Thank you, sir.
Our consent items, item F on our agenda, request for approval of warrants 1403 to 1405 and 142, 157 to, excuse me, I think that's an error. Let me rephrase that. Warrants 1403 to 1405 and 427, 157 to 427, 339 in the amount of $577,904.15. Item number 2 is a request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $36,449.74. Item 3 is a request for approval of the minutes for the meeting held on April 3rd, 2018. And item 4 is a request for of approval of new business licenses. For this quorum here today, items number 5 and 6 are repetitive, as they will be on the action items, and we will hear them under action items rather than go over them on consent items. Mr. Hatch, will you give us a little bit more information on items 1 through 4?
You bet. It was a light week for purchase orders this week. We issued 6 purchase orders for $36,000. Half of that amount, or $18,000, was for the roads, and that was for magnesium sulfate. 28%, or $10,000, was for the jail, and that is a service agreement for the body scanner. As far as checks go, we issued 186 checks for $578,000. About a third of that, or $179,000, was road construction, most of the 2550 South, but there was some 12th Street costs in there as well. 11%, or $64,000, was for the library, and that was primarily books and materials. 10%, or $55,000, was survey and design work done on the 3300 South road construction project. 6%, or $36,000, was for printers, document stations, and book supports. That was also for the library. Apologize for the duplicate there. And then 5%, or $30,000, was for IT. That was replacements for PCs and monitors.
Very good. Commissioners, welcome any questions or anything that you might have on any of those consent items.
This may be the smallest PO and warrant list I think I've ever seen. So congratulations on your financial management. I would just say, you mentioned the library twice, and we had the main library have its official opening Wednesday and then into Saturday. And if you haven't made it over to that facility, you need to schedule some time in your daily lives to go over there and look what they were able to accomplish at that facility. And I would add that so far in that capital project. I believe they're close to $2 million under budget, which if you think of a renovation of a facility as large as the Main, that's quite an accomplishment on a 50-year-old building that was filled with asbestos. And so I'm very, I guess I would use the word proud of what they were able to do on that facility specifically, and then have it turn out just as majestically, I think, as they had envisioned. So I want to just give my kudos to Linda Wainsgard and Kevin Wilson and the team from Wadman Construction that just performed magnificently. So those are my thoughts.
I guess I will just echo and say thank you to that as well. It's been fun to watch that thing open over the last week, and it's a great building, great ton of effort that has gone into it, and so just a thanks for me.
Yeah, the repurpose, thank you. Thanks to both of you. The repurposing of libraries and their new purposes is really phenomenal. A special thanks to the past commissions, Bell, Gibson, Zogmaster, Commissioner Ebert, that have served there, and especially the voting public that made that possible so we could have and enjoy these facilities that are really community centers now. With there's no more comments, then I'll entertain a motion on the consent items.
So moved.
Second?
I have a move, Commissioner Ebert, a second by Commissioner Gibson. Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That vote is unanimous, and we'll move now on to our action items. Ms. Ebert, this is a request for approval of an ordinance on the Board of County Commissioners of Weber County governing parking.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am here today for actually the second reading and approval for this ordinance change. The first reading took place on March 27th, and this actually takes some of Section 32 from the dealing with the parking ordinance and moving it into Section 42, which is the new parking ordinance that was passed in 2016, so that all of those parking ordinances are in the same section.
Very good, Commissioners. Any comments on this action item number 1?
I had questions at the time that were answered the time we had the first reading. I think this is a good move to coordinate these sections, and I appreciate it coming before us. So I don't have any further questions. Ready for a motion? Or Mr. Ebert's done.
Ordinance 4.
Ordinance 4. It sounded like it was a cleanup from the first reading. I do know that this was brought to light as we were looking at steps to address parking in the Upper Valley, and we realized we really didn't have a parking ordinance that allowed us to actually enforce citations that were being written, which was a big problem. So great work putting this together.
With that, then I'll fuck them all.
Loudest.
This is an ordinance. It's a roll call vote. Is that correct? Go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 4 governing
Second.
parking.
A motion by Commissioner Ebert, a second by Commissioner Gibson.
Commissioner Ebert,
Aye.
Commissioner Gibson,
Aye.
and Chair Harvey.
Aye. Thank you, and sorry for getting out of line there,
Thank you.
Fatima. I didn't mean that. I forgot we didn't have the motion. Item number 2, Jared Anderson, is a request for approval of a contract by and among Weber County, or between Weber County, the West Warren and Warren Water Improvement District for the facilities and installation of a water line on 12th Street. Mr. Anderson.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
This is an agreement that's been worked on for months now. We've gone back and forth with West Warren Water and discussing who's responsible for pricing and what we need to do there, and upgrades and crossings. This is going to be combined with the storm water project that the county is doing. So it's a really good opportunity to work with the district, local district, and be able to work with them in getting this work completed. I know there's been multiple discussions with you also about this. If you have any questions, we're very, very excited to move this forward. If you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you. Commissioners, any comments on this particular item number 2?
Quick question for me. happy to work with West Warren. Have we set these dollars aside to start working in these projects?
Yes, WACOG has funded for all the dollars for this project. As you can see in there,
To start,
there's just over $2 million for Weber County's portion, and we do currently have those dollars to pay that. The approximately 7, I believe, for West Warren, they will be paying those dollars back. So yes, we do have those WACOG funds available.
has that COG approval or recommendation come in front of this body to vote on?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes. Is there a reason why it?
I'm just making sure that the dollars, the recommendation from the COG to expense those dollars has come in front of this body, been approved through this body before we vote to expend those dollars.
Yes.
That's
This
my
is
question.
so. There's a I'm sorry. I believe what came before this commission, and Matt, now you've got me wondering, but I thought that we had fast forwarded approximately $4.95 million that were supposed to have been spent in 2019 that are fast forwarded to this date. Those dollars will pay for the project. And I thought that came before you guys, but I'm not. Now I'm wondering.
That's my question, because I am not sure that we have brought that in front of this body.
The 4.95?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's why I'm asking to
Okay.
approve that recommendation to move that portion of the project and taking those dollars out of phase into this year. I'm wondering if this body has approved that recommendation. That's my only question. I just want to make sure we're not jumping the gun and that we've approved that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, it,
Oh, man.
it does make sense, and I talked with Mr. Park about this, and our understanding is that everything was in place to ensure that that the funds were available and
Yeah.
things had been
And I know the funds are available through the COG,
right.
but the COG makes a recommendation to this body, and this body will then make a determination. If they accept that recommendation, will approve. And then this body also then has to make a decision because it's our specific project, if we're ready to move forward on that project. I can't remember that step in this process having taken place. And that's my only question.
And
No problem. I can look through the minutes and see if it's happened or not. If not, then we can put it before you guys in a week.
I'm gonna, unless you have a comment here, Commissioner. Do you have any other comments, Commissioner?
Because my question isn't whether or not I'm for or against, or whether I'll vote. I just want to make sure procedurally we've hit every step.
Okay.
Procedurally speaking, I don't have any problem with what you're bringing before us right now, but procedurally speaking, it's not in my memory since the Transportation Committee or the COG brought this piece before us, that it's been brought before us like the other projects have. You brought 3,500 before us, you've brought some other projects before us. I don't remember seeing that piece, or the 4.9 whatever, or whatever that amount is. I don't remember that coming before us. And so would it then be, Cortland, should we then, with that, should we hold this, or what or should we approve it upon, or take an action on this pending that? What would be your counsel?
You probably have a couple of options here. You could either approve it subject to that funding being authorized through all the official steps, or you could table it, wait and make sure that it's authorized officially and everything's in line before you approve it.
Thank you.
I mean,
Did we pay for that answer?
either way, I mean, I think if you have any concern at all about making sure the funding is in place, if you want to wait and do that, that can make sure that it's all
A week
in
won't
line.
make, I'm sorry, Cortland, a week won't make a difference. So,
Shelley, do you have any recollection on this from your experience as the secretary to the COG, the administrative assistant to the COG? Would help us here, because I appreciate where we're going here. I want to make sure we do it right.
As far as I remember, and I'm not positive, in the WACOG meeting that the three of you were gone for, Brooke and Scott presented a plan where they could move funding from year to year. And if I remember correctly, they discussed whether or not they needed approval before that happened, and they had decided that they did not, but that if, I remember correctly, John Bond recommended that if that didn't work, that we could come back in a year and adjust that it would.
Thank you. Mr. Wilkinson, I think you have the same information that was just sent to me.
Yes.
Go ahead, though. Will you speak to that?
And I don't know what information that is.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just saw a thread here, so go
Okay.
ahead.
But commissioners, I believe what this comes down to is this really is a county decision about whether or not we are forwarding that 2019 money. And that's what it comes down to. WACOG has approved the funding, and the county commission voted to approve that funding as well previously. But how we proceed with the project is a county commission decision. So that's the step that we're at right now. And I don't know if this specific aspect of the project has been brought to the county commission in the past, but it's part of the larger project that was approved. But certainly this is something that the county commission needs to decide on.
I'm being told from Ms. Stewart, who works in the transportation portion, that this funding agreement is in fact intact, and it was approved on in 2015. So
correct.
This is just subsequent to that, so we should be good to go on that. That should answer your question, Commissioner Ebert, unless it doesn't.
Because
well, and I think, I'm sorry, I step in. From what I'm used to seeing is most of the decisions that go through the WACOG with transportation decisions, what previously Doug Larson had taken those decisions and then brought them before you to approve. And I think that's where you're making the comments, Commissioner Ebert. And I don't know if that needs to be formalized, if you guys want to formalize that or not with how the policies WACOG is written, if we need to formalize that or not. I don't think it'd be hard to. I think we could. And I think that it sounds like it'll probably come through Brooke now. So, Commissioner Gibson.
I was just going to thank Commissioner Ebert because I, as you mentioned, Commissioner Harvey, I don't remember since that discussion in WACOG a month or so ago something else being on our agenda, but I would trust Brooke's statement that she just texted through to us that this portion would be covered under the 2015 model. I don't know anybody else to ask other than Brooke, and so that's so I think it probably lends itself to believe that based on that information that we're in good shape there.
Commissioner Ebert, any other question?
Yeah, so I guess the question that I had is if we're looking at this as more of an administrative action on our project and less of a legislative action as an adoption of a recommendation through the COG, then I have no concerns with moving forward at this point. But historically, when a change has been made from a recommendation from the COG, and whether it was an adjustment or something like that, which what this is, it's taking it out of the 2019 changes and moving it in to this year. It has come in front of from our body, but those haven't always been necessarily our projects. And so I guess that would be my question. If we're just going to look at this more as an administrative action on our project, and you're comfortable with this, I'm comfortable with moving forward, and rather than a legislative action. So that would be the only clarification I would have on this. I want to make sure we're doing it correctly. That's it. And so if legal says we're good to go, then I have no issue with it.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that based on what's been represented to you.
Good, then the chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the contract between Weber County and West Warren Water Improvement District.
Second.
However that was said, West Warren, or whatever.
Super.
I think it's Warren, West Warren, but I don't know.
Motion by Commissioner Gibson, a second by Commissioner Ebert. If there's no more discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. Thank you, and we'll move on.
Thank you.
Mr. Wilkinson, thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Can I quickly, Jared, I apologize that I didn't catch that question prior to this meeting. I should have asked you before this, and we should have had this worked out. That was my mistake. It didn't occur to me until you were presenting that I hadn't heard this. So,
That's
I
okay.
will try to catch it earlier and have that discussion
Just fine.
so that we don't have all this
Just
rigmarole. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
The next two items are Mr. John Wilkinson, our Community Economic Development Director. The first one is a request for approval of a real estate purchase and a sale agreement by and between Weber County and Willie Velasquez for parcels 080470001 and 080470045.
Thank you. Commissioners, these are two parcels in Hooper City that are adjacent to Mr. Velasquez's property. Previously, when the property was divided, these two slivers were left. We don't know the reason why. The surveyor's office has reviewed those and has determined that they were formerly part of the parcel that Mr. Velasquez owns, and we are selling those back to him. The pieces are $150 each, so a total of $300, and we will be selling those parcels to him by quitclaim deed. We obtained those parcels at tax sale, and that is why they are in county ownership currently.
I understand. Thank you for correcting that. I know that'll make a big difference for at least that individual.
Yes.
Comments, commissioners, before I ask for a motion? No comments being recognized, then I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a move for Commissioner Gibson, a second by Commissioner Ebert for parcel, or item number 3. I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item 4, Mr. Wilkinson. Is a request for purchase, sale agreement by between Weber County and Moises Cook for parcels 23020-0002 and 23020-0003.
Well read.
Okay.
Commissioners, these are parcels up in the Ogden Valley in the South Fork area. Previously, they were all one piece of property. The owner at that time divided them. We don't know the reasons why, and the county obtained all 3 pieces in that area at one time and then sold off a piece, which eventually Mr. Cook purchased. He is now looking to purchase the other 2 pieces from Weber County so that he can combine them back into their original form and have a legal building lot there. One of the pieces, the larger piece, being sold for, just one second, $9,500, and that comes from an opinion of value letter that we received from a licensed real estate broker. The other smaller piece, which is a sliver of land, is valued by the assessor's office at $12. So we will sell both of those pieces of property to Mr. Cook so that he can combine them and have a lot that he can build on. So we would ask for your approval to sell those 2 pieces of property.
What are we going to do with that $12?
Account for it. If there's no comments on this particular item, then commissioners, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve, and just with the comment that, Sean, as our county grows and we have subdivisions and tax sales and all kinds of things that work their way through the process, we have issues like this that come up. It's a constant effort to make sure things are clean and appropriate and well done, and I just want to tell you thank you for including that as part of your duties. It may not seem like a big deal to us, but it's a big deal to these individuals when there's a sliver of property. Sure. and it just makes sense. So I want to tell you thanks for doing this and doing them right.
Thank you. Commissioners, Zach, our intern, has been working on this area within the county. He's been taking all of the parcels that Weber County owns, categorizing them and putting information with them so that we can now go through that list and sell those properties and make sure that we're accounting for everything that we have. And he said there are close to 900. So we sold 4 today, and we're working through that list. So
I love that we're chipping away at it. Thank you. And I can anticipate, or I feel confident in anticipating, as it relates to meets, bounds, corner markers, the work that Leanne Kiltz and Devin Anderson are doing with surveying, that we could even find some more, but it's cleaning things up.
correct.
Using modern technology and efficiencies which will basically eliminate future work for us. So,
Yes.
Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion.
I've already got one on the table, but I don't think it was seconded.
Second.
Great, thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. Call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Wilkinson.
Thank you.
Now is the time for our public comments. We'd ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes for those who may want to come and address the commission. You'd state
My
your
name is Rod.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Rodney Egan. I'm from Uinta Highlands. I'm a delegate, and as a delegate, I received a letter from a Toby Milesky, and in 2016, I spent some time here in the county chambers. We were talking about increasing the taxes for Weber County. At that time, there were some people that were concerned about the increase in the taxes because they didn't make very much money. They were on Social Security. They were making very little money, and they didn't know how they would be able to pay the taxes. Mr. Milesky sent along with other things a copy of the commissioner's wages. At the time we were talking about this, I believe that, as I remember, it was in either August or November, it was asked of the commissioners if they were going to get a raise. Kerry Gibson stated that there was no money in there for the commissioners. And if there had been, he wouldn't take it. On this letter that I received, it states that Commissioner Gibson got a raise of $13,908. I checked with the county attorney's office, and the county attorney, Chris, said that anyone in office can reject any and all of their wages. My question to the board is, what happened to Kerry's statement that they were not getting any money, and that if they did get any money, he would not accept it? Thank you.
Are there any other comments to come before this body? Commissioners, any comments?
I'll make motion that we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We are adjourned. Thank you.